Arkansas here this weekend. 4:01 is the official kick time. I'll turn it over to Coach Muschamp for an opening statement and open up for questions.
Well, we're excited to get back to Williams-Brice Stadium here on Saturday at 4 o'clock against a very good Arkansas football team. They're a little unique at this day and age as opposed to maybe 10, 12 years ago where they were very normal. Offensively, Dan Enos does an outstanding job. Very similar thoughts from when Brett was at Wisconsin to now at Arkansas, and some of the things they do offensively, more traditional two-back, big people on the field, play action. We got to have great eye control defensively, and as far as what we're watching and those sort of things. But Austin Allen's an outstanding thrower, really a talented arm. Guys really played well in our league. They've got some really talented runners. Obviously, David's there now, and a guy that we've thought a lot of when he was here, and certainly wanted a fresh start, and I'm glad he's got that opportunity. But Chase Hayden's a freshman, has really played well for him. Has been some wildcat for them and done some nice things, and Whaley's a really good back as well. Multiple tight ends they use. They're big, physical outside at the receiver position, so we've got to be able to match up on those guys. And, again, eye control in the secondary and the linebacker is going to be critical for us to be able to cover down and being in the right spots. Defensively, Paul Rhodes does a really good job. They're primarily a three-down team. You see some of the active guys they've got inside. The two linebackers really jump out at me as far as their tackling in space and playing in space. So we got our work cut out for us, but we're looking forward to getting back on the field. I thought we had a very good day this morning. The guys are very spirited and getting back to practice and restarting and moving forward to playing Arkansas here at home. Injury-wise, Zach Bailey and Corey Helms and Malik Young are all day-to-day. To me, I think Zach's got the best opportunity to play, and I'll probably know more Wednesday or Thursday on him. But he's probably further out and helping us than the other two guys are at this time, and Terry Gusher is day-to-day as well. And I'll open up for any questions.
Raise your hand, microphone to you, David, with the first.
Will, with the running game, are there, wholesale changes coming to formation schemes or just little tweaks here and there that you guys have worked on?
Well, I think when you're struggling, you go back and you say, what are we doing well? And I think that you look in the passing game right now, the RPOs have been really good for us. We've created a lot of explosive plays. I think you look at the quick game has been really good for us. You look at last Saturday night, Shy Smith in the quick game. Big explosive play. Brian Evers in a quick game, an explosive play on 2nd and 7. You look at the back shoulder throw on Brian, which is a quick game. They went to more man coverage to deny the ball in a lot of quick game situations, which obviously sometimes converts your routes further down the field. And, again, I thought that that's been very productive. The play-action pass has been very productive. And really our drop-back passing game has been very good until the other night when we struggled to protect. And, really Jake in a couple situations has got to get rid of the football. The running back position misses 2 protections. And then we got beat up front a couple times. That, to me, maybe it's backwards of how I look at it, but let's start there and then let's build from that. And what do we need to do to continue to improve? Well, obviously, we're not going to have an open forum about what we need to do Saturday. Are there some tweaks? I don't know that you make wholesale changes in a week, but there are some things, bright spots that we have, been able to accomplish this year. The first play of the second half and a 34-yard power play inside that was blocked extremely well. And there were some runs in some other situations. If you look at 17 carries for 77 yards and 4.5 yards a carry the other night, you take away the sack yardage, which has nothing to do with your rushing offense. There are some positive things. Is it where we want to be? No. It isn't good enough, and it's not productive enough. And you have to stay balanced in this league. You can't become one-dimensional, i.e., after the second series of the second half, it became a throwing game and it was a launching pad for the quarterback. So, we tried to throw a couple screens. Those didn't manifest itself. The running game was non-existent, and they're teeing off on the quarterback. So when you get in those situations, it's extremely difficult. So we've got to find some sort of balance within what we do as far as getting the ball in the perimeter more and continuing to have ways to run the football.
Hey, Coach. What are some of the biggest issues in the red zone offense right now, and how do you address those moving forward into this weekend?
Well, I think that, first of all, missing 7 field goals is not good. Now, 2 of those are from 50, 3 of those from plus 40. And so those are some issues. You take away 21 points, you probably should have scored. We've got a turnover on downs and inside the 1-yard line and a turnover inside the 10-yard line last Saturday night. That's a bunch of points off the board that you had opportunities to get scores. Obviously, we need to score touchdowns down there, and that's some things that we've looked at schematically of what we're doing and what we need to improve, and how do we attack the Arkansas defense and some of the things that they do in the red zone, and how can we take advantage of those guys in the run game and the pass game.
Will, you touched on David a little bit, but is it unusual to have a guy transfer out of a program and then play in the next year, and does that kind of give you any advantage, kind of knowing his style pretty in depth?
I don't think so. I think, again, David did everything we asked for him to do here at South Carolina. And he was a first-class citizen on and off the field. He came to me when the year was over and said he wanted a fresh start. The rules are what the rules. I don't really agree with the rules, but they say if you're a graduate transfer, then you have an opportunity to go to another graduate program and study under something else, and that's obviously not the reason why he was going. He's going to play football. But that's the rules. So I'm not going to block a young man from an opportunity if that's what he wanted to do. And that's just the way I view it. It's not the way other coaches view it, and I really don't care how they view it. So that's the way we did things here.
Well, you mentioned restart in your opening statement, and Jake, when he was in here, he said that when you talked to him today, you said you don't get redos, but this is an opportunity to restart. Right. Could you elaborate on that a little more?
There's no redos in life. It's part of the issue in our society. Everyone wants to hit a reset button and it's okay, and that's not the case. There's no woulda, coulda, shouldas. Learn from your mistakes and move forward. We had opportunities to finish that game in the fourth quarter, and we didn't get it done. But you can't let one loss become another one, and you can't harbor on what happened the other night. It was a very disappointing loss. We had a hurt locker room, and that was strictly my point with our team yesterday and today. Was we're going to restart. We're going to be positive. We're going to move forward. We're going to learn from our mistakes and move forward, and that's what we're doing.
I know that you're not cut and dried, that time of possession is a big deal, but is it starting to become a factor in how you manage things, given that I guess A&M had the ball 20 minutes of the second half?
Well, the 3 and outs are an issue. We've had 12 in our last 26 possessions in SEC ball, and that's a problem. You've got to get off the field on defense. That's number one. But in order to, you got to maintain some drives offensively, and it also flips field position. That's an issue as well. It's not about scoring points sometimes. It's about getting a couple first downs and flipping the field. And, really special teams-wise right now, obviously aside from our field goal kicking and one extra point has been outstanding. Our coverage units the other night were outstanding against as good a returner as there is in college football. And our return units have been very good and certainly improved from a week ago. But there's no question that statistically, you can swing it however you want to look at it, whether it's a positive, Josh, or a negative for you. And there's no question right now that is a negative, and it's our inability at times to get off the field defensively and maintain consistent drives offensively.
As you and Kurt discuss how much tempo you want to try to use offensively, how much a part of that conversation is time of possession and how that may or may not affect time of possession?
I think that it also comes with the flow of the game. And when you're going 3 and out, tempo is not a real cool thing to do, in my opinion. You're just going to be probably 6 or 7 minutes quicker back on the field for your defensive players. You got to get first downs in order to go tempo. And if you really look at all the tempo teams, they go fast after they get a first down. They're not going breakneck tempo, first down out of a P&10 possession, going to second down. That's not necessarily how they do things. They hit a big player, they get a first down, the chains are moving, and they're going quick to the ball. So there were some things that we wanted to try and change the tempo the other night, but it's hard when you don't get first downs. That creates an issue. It also creates an issue a little bit. They had a great environment, and that's what we need. Saturday afternoon at our place is a loud, proud environment, and that's they had one, and it was communication does become an issue when you're on the road.
Well, when you've been struggling with field goal place kicking like you have been, do you start to change your philosophy about third down and say maybe it's a two down territory, or do you keep sending them back out there?
No, I think it's situationally. I think that to start the game, Parker had a great week last week, and he had a really good pregame as far as kicking the ball. We felt really good about it, and it was a good hit. He pulled it, and then the second it was a closer in field goal, and he hit it. And I probably should go back and look at having him attempt 250 yarders and 346 plus yarders, and rethink that a little bit on me. So. And putting him out in there in that situation really for the first time probably wasn't very smart on my part. So I think those are things that you kind of rethink. But I want to, and again, I may be wrong. I think the off the turnover, you know, we tried to take a shot. They pressured us with 4 weak. We hit a stick route to Hayden, which we missed on the 1st and 10. We wanted to take a shot to the X, and just the look they gave us didn't allow that to happen. But I want to say that was a 3rd and 12 or third. It was a longer yardage situation given the circumstances, and I didn't know that 2 downs at that time, trying to get on the board as quickly as we could.
Coach, I know you've talked about in the past, maybe about 6 to 8 plays, explosive plays. You guys, that's one of the goals you guys have each week. Do you fear at all, maybe with the way the offense is going, maybe a guy or two might want to try to do a little bit more because he feels like he has to step up in different situations, and that might, you know, put him in a bad position? I know the whole thing 111. Do you fear that a little bit at all?
Well, I do think the other night, you know, Jake's, you know, is pressed a little bit on some times and held on to the ball a little bit in the pocket too long. Should have gotten rid of the ball a couple of times. It's something we've talked to him about, and just play within the scheme and system. We had some guys on defense that at times late in the game were trying to do a little too much, and you just need to play within the scheme and system. The worst thing you can do is try and do someone else's job, and all of a sudden you haven't done yours very well, and we got an issue. So we had a couple issues on defense especially that, in my opinion, just from a discipline standpoint, just do your job. Just keep hanging in there. Don't try and, you know, you manifest a play. That didn't work very well.
Where is Debo in his rehab process?
He's doing well. He's got the cast off. He's in a walking boot right now, and you know, I know they're doing the bone stimulation and all that, all of those exercises and things. But I think he's coming along well.
TJ Brunson mentioned Sherrod Green working some at Sam with you guys probably having to do more 4-3 this week. What
We're going to play 11 though.
What did Sherrod give you there, and what do you feel like you kind of have at the Sam position with him and Daniel?
Well, Danny Fennell and Anton Wilder and Sherrod all can play, you know, on the strong side, and certainly guys that as we continue to work through the week, we'll see how that plays itself out as far as what we're going to do.
In terms of what Arkansas does defensively, are they kind of a team that stays in their base 3-4 more than most teams and doesn't go to nickel as much? And does that allow you guys to do some stuff with spreading out a little more?
No, they'll match personnel. They'll put a nickel in the game and take a linebacker out and try to get another rush guy in the game to create a, when they do rush 4, have another more athletic rusher on the field as opposed to a big guy. And then they'll play base personnel in some situations based on the matchups for them. And, you know, certainly that'll be something that we will need to see early in the game of how they're matching us. And that's, you know, something you kind of see on game day as much as anything.
Will you increase your input into the offensive game plan for this week and then on Saturday?
No more than I have in mind every year as a head coach, and that's just to give some ideas of what I think how they'll try and defend us a little bit. And I hire the offensive coordinator to do his job and the offensive staff, and it's a cumulative effort of everyone in the room. So we've got a very competent offensive staff and a very competent offensive coordinator, and those guys do a good job, and we need to be more productive. It's nothing that they don't disagree with anything. They think we need to be more productive, and they're certainly working tireless to make sure that happens.
Will, with, you know, Texas A&M and obviously dating back to Louisiana Tech and Kentucky, all these games seem to be so close in the fourth quarter. What's the difference to pulling out games late and executing late in the fourth quarter?
Well, I think it starts with coaches' decisions first of all. And, you know, putting the guys in position to be successful, and then evaluating when they are in those situations to be successful, and they weren't, why. You know, and you look at a situation when Ford hit the big run on us. Obviously, we didn't close down at the defensive end position well enough. We didn't fall back with the linebacker well enough. It was 2 true freshmen. So, you know, in that situation, what can we do better to coach those guys? Because that was a critical play in the game. So let's hold them to a field goal right there, and then you're looking at a 3-point game. It's a total different deal when you're driving the ball back down the field to try and tie or win the football game. So those are all situations that you go through as a staff and you talk about. You know, we were a little worn down there defensively at that time. So obviously we needed some fresh legs on the field. That's why they're in there. We did go to what we call a rabbits package. They went tempo knowing we're in a rabbits package to keep those guys on the field. So it was a good turn on their part, and we've got to have those guys execute a little better. That means we've got to coach them a little better. in my opinion. So that's on us.
You say next man down, man up, but does it also have to do with the youth and inexperience of playing those close conference games late?
They need to play well. I told those guys, you're not freshmen anymore. Hell, we're 5 games into this thing. You're not a freshman anymore. Go play well. I asked them, I didn't look at Brian Edwards last year and say, you're a freshman, it's okay if you make a mistake. Did I ever ask you that? Brian said in front of the whole team, no. I asked Jake Bentley the same thing. I asked Rico Donnell the same. I never said it was okay they're a freshman. Hell, go play good. Put you out there, you ought to play well, right?
Coach, up here, Coach. Coach, I guess how are you guys addressing the issues with the offensive line? I know you guys had some, injuries. How are you guys going about the rotation and just, getting guys in there to hopefully execute and, get that run game going as well?
Well, again, Dennis right now is still playing left tackle, and Sedaris Hutch is playing left guard. Alan Knott's playing center. At the right guard is Donnell Stanley. Blake Camper is going to be a guy that we need to get some snaps this Saturday, and DJ Park will be at right tackle. So, we'll go with those guys, and, regardless of the situation, we plan on having 5 out there.
How far back do you and Brett go? And before you guys were in the same conference, did you guys ever do any off-season idea exchanges, stuff like that?
No, just obviously did a fantastic job at Wisconsin, and gotten to know him a little bit, at the SEC meetings and things like that, and got a lot of respect for the job that he does. And his football teams are well coached, they're fundamentally very sound in what they do, play extremely hard, so you appreciate the way they play.
You said Debo's out of his cast and in the boot. Does that give you some hope he might return this year? Any update on that?
I don't know, Josh. We're still weeks away from that, so I just told those guys, if we get close, y'all let me know something. We'll figure out a role for him.
Actually, like my question. Sorry about that.
40-second clock would have gotten you. Under this tough crowd you got here. Go ahead.
Coach, I'm sure you would say there's plenty more improvements the defense can have, but just evaluating them the last couple weeks in comparison to the first couple weeks, where are they at, and have you seen growth in that unit?
I've seen a lot of improvement, and from a communication standpoint, I think our guys are straining and playing extremely hard. We got the quarterback legs got us a little bit there in the second half at times, and I feel like we had some guys in position at times. You got to make some plays, but you got to also realize Kellen Mond's a good athlete and a good player and a good quarterback. So a guy that made some plays, on his own there. But the improvement has been good. We got to continue to come on. We didn't tackle as crisply as we'd like to, especially versus a team that's going to spread you out as much as they did. A little different this week, but you still going to have to make some plays in space. So we got to continue to take steps forward, and especially when you're facing something a little bit different than you've seen all year. And so you got to get out of your comfort zone a little bit of some of the things you've seen and be able to play well.
Will Jemias led the team in tackles at A&M. Just how much has he improved in these first 5 games?
Well, I think competitive edge is a talent, and he's got a high competitive edge. He's a very fierce competitor, but he also practices the right way, and that's something that we've really emphasized in the last couple of years of understanding how important preparation that creates a separation on game day, and he's a guy that understands that part. But he had that before he got here. I credit, his dad and Grayson High School and the people that were there. He understands how to work.
Will, we've talked a lot about areas that need to improve. What are you most pleased about right now at this point in the season, or pleasantly surprised with some aspect of your team?
Not a whole lot. At the end of the day, we're not where we want to be. So, we'll reflect on the season when it's over. But right now, we're not where we want to be.
Against A&M late, there's a play where Jamarcus kind of jumps up, tried to bat a ball, ends up giving up, I think it was a 19-yard completion. When you watch that again, does any part of you wish he was a little more conservative, or you just say that's the play, it was a few inches away, and that's kind of what we want to see?
It was a 3rd and 9 situation. You're in man coverage. The only thing that I would tell him is in that situation, he did have his back arm on the receiver. It's right at the sticks for the first down marker. Hook and swat the receiver, try and get the ball off the guy. He missed on the swat. He was in position to make the play, and he missed. Again, you asked earlier the question about those couple plays, the difference between winning and losing the game, and no one play ever won a game, and no one play ever lost a game. But there is a collection of about 6 to 10 that will determine the outcome of the game. You knock that ball down, they're going to punt. It's still a tie ball game. But he is in position to make the play. He had tight, good coverage, clean coverage, hook the back left hand and get the guy on the ground after you miss the swat, which he tried to hook the guy, but the guy's also 6'2", 220 pounds, and he rolled out of it, and DJ did a nice job of pursuing the ball. So, no, I want our guys to be totally aggressive in all of those situations to try and go make a play on the ball, and I thought he made the correct play. I wish he would have secured the receiver a little better. But, again, easy for me and you at 12:49 on Tuesday afternoon to talk about other than sitting there on game day in that situation. And he was in position to make the play exactly the way we won't coach it to be. Get your hand on the ball and then hook the receiver if you miss the swat, and we missed the swat.
Coach, when you look at the 4 sacks in the fourth quarter on Saturday night, is there something that Jake maybe can do to get out of that situation, or is that mostly on the running backs and the offensive line?
Well, I think again, I don't know about the 4. I know about the 7. And at the end of the day, we had 2 on the running back position. We had several on the offensive line, and a couple where Jake needs to get rid of the ball and understand that when the pocket's closing in, you got to get rid of it sometimes. And so the blame is to spread around the group, and they all understand that. There was a couple routes that could have been run a little crisper that needed the ball to be delivered and weren't run exactly the way we want them run. Again, those are all things that when you talk in terms of the devil's in the details of what you do, and that's sort of the emphasis I've had with our football team.
Will, what is the greater challenge for your team this year? Is it, or this week specifically, is it physically or is it mental?
I think both. This week is the physical challenge for our defense and what we're going to face. And I think I would say that for their entire organization, for the physicality that we're going to need to play with. And then mentally, at this point of the year, especially for young players, concerns you when you're moving into this time of the year. They've got exams, they've got social, they've got a lot going on, and it's continuing to focus on football for young players, and we're playing a bunch sometimes is an issue. And that's something I've talked to the staff about as far as making sure their young guys are dialed in on what we need to do, and their focus is where it needs to be at practice. And sometimes that's hard for a young player to separate sometimes. And we got a bunch of young guys playing and playing well. And that's certainly what we expect for them to do. But I think it's probably a balance of 50-50. Probably maybe more mental than physical right now at this point, but certainly we're going to need to match their physicality Saturday.
Sort of going off that, based off of last season and the way things started and how you guys were able to turn it around, do you have any confidence when you sort of weigh that against what's going on right now and where you guys are at 3-2?
No, I've got a lot of confidence in this football team. We've had our share of adversity, of some things probably out of our control that I think our guys have responded extremely well. And so I've got all the confidence in the world in this team as far as how we're going to respond Saturday and moving forward. There's no question. We had a good day today. I expect us to have another good day tomorrow. I like the leadership on this football team. I enjoy being around this football team. They work extremely hard. They're a good bunch to be around. So I've got all the confidence in the world of how we'll respond.
Anything else for Coach?
All right, thank you.